Got you a little bit different of a camera angle this morning. So needed to get on here and just get a couple things off my chest. For those scoring at home, recently had my father-in-law pass away, survived by my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law and my nephews. So it's been, 2 weeks? So, or is it only a week? Either way. I hear last night, it's almost about 9 o'clock, which is bedtime for this boring old middle-aged man, right? And I hear a ruckus from the bedroom. Wife's already in bed. And I overhear her talking to my nephew. Well, I want to talk to Mimi. That's my mother-in-law's pet name for my nephews. And she's Teresa, my wife, has her on speakerphone. And she's like, she doesn't want to talk. And Teresa says, well, listen, with the text messages that I've been receiving from your father, I need to talk to Mimi. He's like, well, what do you want me to do then? And she's like, okay, go back outside, please. And you hear him kind of like the audio version of leaving, door opens, doors closed, and he's obviously outside. He's like, okay, I'm outside. And she's like, are you and your brother safe? Do you feel safe right now? And he's like, yes, ma'am. Yes, we are. And she says, do your Uncle Ron and me need to come up and get you? Are you sure you're safe? He's like, no, I'm sure I'm safe. He's like, okay. If any of that changes, either call me or call your uncle anytime. And there you go. We love you very much. Like, love you too. And that's the end of the phone call. About 5 minutes later, Teresa gets a phone call from her mom. Then, no, this one's not on speakerphone. Wife gets very pissed and then says, I swear to God, I'm so done with these fucking people. And then by this time, I'm in the room with her, and she is texting furiously. Like, I hear her say, fuck you over the phone, and then she starts texting furiously. I put a hand on my wife. I said, take a breath. She's like, what? I said, take a breath. I didn't get her to take a breath before she texted fuck you to her mom. I gave her a minute. I said, what's going on, babe? She's like, and thankfully, I think normally she would have wanted to say the thing that her mom said, which would be, I don't want to talk about it right now, but she must have realized how that would sound to me. And she said, well, my brother sent me a text message earlier today. He was very concerned because mom, she calls Mimi mom, obviously, because mom said that she would commit suicide if only she had the strength. And he said, her brother said, I'm worried about her. I don't know what to do, and any of this stress like this, I just kind of go dark. I don't have the tools to cope with this. I mean, very, very healthy response from him for that situation. So it turns out when Dee called back, she's like, how dare you ask Chandler if he's safe? And my wife says, listen here, my daughter, I had to intervene before she committed suicide. She said, my husband had a severe nervous break that he had to be hospitalized for. Now this, and she said, I'm a healthcare provider. I have an obligation to do these things. And that is when her mom hung up. Now I overheard Teresa's end of that conversation. And Teresa just said, I am just so over that passive aggressive shit that I had to grow up in. And this all ties into Shafe, your video yesterday. If you're watching, man, I appreciate you listening. I just got to get this shit off my chest. To what you said about like the worst punishment for kids, you know, that passive aggressive, like, and it puts the child in such a dark fucking place, man. You know, and me centering this all back onto me again, you know, all I can think of is, man, if I had only gotten custody of my nephews, I could have spared them from this too, you know. So, but that's quite an ego on me. Who knows what different things would have happened if they lived with us instead of there. But man, should any child have to be in the middle of that particular situation? Now he's 16, which I don't know about nowadays. I mean, he's 16 and in a broken home, so he is most likely, I want to tell myself, much more mature. But this is a pretty long disaster, and I can only guess if that household up there is behaving like that. I don't think they're partaking in the grief counseling. So to that extent, Teresa told her brother, she said, look, I can't deal with this, and I can't help this situation from down here. You're gonna have to talk to their pastor, Jim's lifelong friend, or Gigi, one of the close people to their life, to get them to assist in this. My opinion, and I didn't, now please don't get me wrong, I didn't share any of my opinion with Teresa last night. Just encouraged her to, take a breath. And I got that, kind of borrowed that from some stupid Army Ranger bullshit, which I know nothing about. But whenever things are so hectic and you're having to make snap decisions and you feel and you've lost control, you stop, you take a breath, remember that you're breathing. Obviously Dee is hurting. Obviously my brother-in-law is hurting. Obviously my wife is hurting. And my mother-in-law is expressing it poorly. But I'm curious, is she ignorant of the ramification of her using that particular type of verbiage with us? Like, we're not gonna fuck around with that if she's beginning to talk about self-harm. We ain't playing that shit. That situation is bad enough. I'd hate to say that it's selfish on Dee's part, because she's grieving, so selfishness maybe doesn't apply. So where does that leave me? Well, I thought about it last night. What would my father-in-law want? What would Jim want? Clear as if that man's voice was in my head. He said, take care of my daughter, take care of my granddaughter. He said, long time ago, son, I feel like I never have to worry about Teresa and Grace with you. So, I couldn't do shit or shinola for what's going on in Live Oak as much as I'd like to. But as as our Heavenly Father would leave the 99 to save the one, so it was, you know. Take a breath. Do what I can.